This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. The full cadre of clinical staff at all medical facilities are being maintained during the period of the COVID-19 pandemic. This assurance comes from the Ministry of Health and Wellness following reports carried in a local newspaper that there is no work for doctors in the public health sector. Contrary to the report, the Health Ministry noted that there were delays in some facilities in the contracting of some doctors due in part to administrative arrangements. The Ministry of Health and Wellness explained that the employment of medical doctors is based on a recruitment and contracting process that seeks to identify the needs of the facilities based on vacancies that are created by resignations, study leave, secondments, and other forms of human resource transactions that occur within the public health sector. It added that 24 doctors are slated to assume duties on or before Tuesday, July 14, 2020, on a replacement basis within the public health system. 5 more patients have recovered from the coronavirus COVID-19 and released from hospital. The total number of patients who've recovered from COVID-19 now stands at 620. The Ministry of Health and Wellness says no new COVID-19 cases were recorded in the island on Sunday. Case count remains at 758. Jamaica has recorded 240 imported cases. 236 cases are contacts of confirmed cases. 39 are local transmission cases not epidemiologically linked. 236 are related to the workplace cluster in St. Catherine, and 7 are under investigation. 74,904 students will sit their Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate (CSEC) and the Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examinations today. According to the Education Ministry, just about 58,720 students have registered to sit CSEC subjects and 16,184 for CAPE. A number of students will also be sitting international examinations. According to Chief Education Officer in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, Dr. Kassan Troop, additional centers have been established within schools, and in some cases, the entire campus will be used if necessary. 3 major universities in Jamaica are planning to have most classes online as they prepare to reopen next month for the start of the 2020-2021 academic year. The advent of COVID-19 means face-to-face classroom settings have to be adjusted to allow for safe delivery of lessons. The University of the West Indies, UWI, the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean, UCC, and Northern Caribbean University have made the decision to go fully digital, at least for the first semester of 2020-2021. UWI Registrar Dr. Donovan Stanbury says, quote, "Based on the prognosis that COVID-19 will be with us for some time, certainly we are continuing or planning to be able to open academic year having full regard to the realities that we face in the COVID period," end quote. Erica Martin, Senior Marketing Coordinator at UCC, says the move to online classes was executed in the summer. However, for the new semester, students will be able to choose between online classes or blended learning. NCU President Dr. Lincoln Edwards says the university will reopen with all classes online except for those with laboratory or practicum components. And Acting President of the University of Technology, Professor Colin Giles, says some classes at the institution will not be administered online due to unique nature of the courses. The Senate has approved the report of a joint select committee which had been reviewing 4 pieces of legislation, primarily affecting the issue of violence against women and children: the Sexual Offences Act, the Offences Against the Person Act, the Domestic Violence Act, and the Child Care and Protection Act. The Joint Select Committee, which was chaired by Minister of Justice Leroy Chuck, met between January 2017 and December 2018. In the last sitting of the Senate, Leader of Government Business Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith opened the debate, explaining that the proposed changes to the legislation contribute significantly to addressing violence against the most vulnerable Jamaicans.
The sobriety and the general consensus and the commitment to ensuring that there's a holistic treatment and improvement of how it is the state treats with this intractable issue of violence against vulnerable members of our society is indicative of the fact that this is legislation for this time. Perhaps we're at an appropriate point in our national development to make the changes that are in fact necessary for appropriate treatment of these issues.
She also welcomed a general recommendation that the legislation be amended to ensure that anticipated violence can also be prevented, especially where domestic violence is concerned.
The scope of what is considered violence from a social perspective and a psychosocial perspective has changed as well. So that domestic violence now generally includes the psychological as well. For example, it is not only the physical manifestation of violence that would fit under assault, which is now considered. There is a thinking about recognizing the very issue that Senator Sinclair raised, which is that if someone is not going to press charges, but you recognize that a crime has been committed, what is the role of the state, where this now, which has traditionally been treated as a private matter, is now one which is affecting the children who can't learn in school. It's affecting the woman's productivity on the job. She can't learn, she's unhealthy. This is, she can't go to work. And the general cycle of violence and how it creates perpetrators and of victims, creating a continuously violent society. So how we interrupt that cycle and how we treat with the definition of domestic violence has to fundamentally be revisited.
According to the report, the law should provide for stiffer penalties for particularly heinous crimes against the most vulnerable to send a strong message to the perpetrators of these acts and for victims to feel that justice has been done. In terms of the murder of pregnant women, the committee states, in terms of the Offences Against the Persons Act, OAPA, it agrees with the suggestion that Section 2 of the OAPA, which deals with grievous bodily harm, should be amended to expressly include the victim's known or visible pregnancy as an aggravating factor in determining the sentence.
So that acts of violence, I referred to this earlier, but more specifically now, including sexual violence perpetrated against our most vulnerable groups in the society, and I repeat, children under 12 years old, women, or rather elderly persons over 70, women known to be pregnant or who are visibly pregnant, persons with physical or mental disabilities, that they should all be treated as aggravating factors in determining the sentence of an accused person, and that these aggravating factors should carry a mandatory minimum of no less than 20 years.
Senator Johnson Smith also supports an expansion of the number of people or entities who can provide protection orders for threatened women.
This would now include, Mr. President, the JCF as well as the Children's Advocate, which are not provided for under the current CCPA. There has also been a proposal for an increase in penalty for breach of a protection order, and it is to be moved from $10,000, if you can believe it, or 6 months imprisonment, to $150,000 or 12 months imprisonment. But it has since been recommended in that other place, Mr. President, by the minister responsible for this act, that the monetary penalty would be moved to $500,000 instead.
The official report was approved in the House in November 2019 and sent to the Senate for approval. The entertainment industry is a major source of income for many Jamaicans. It has been significantly impacted by the new normal presented as a result of COVID-19. Recently, leaders in the entertainment industry attended a meeting with Minister of Local Government and Community Development, Desmond McKenzie, and Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Olivia Grange, to discuss the safe reopening of the entertainment industry. Carol Francis has more in this report.
Production studios, live theatre, concert venues and entertainment companies are being placed under the microscope to determine all the ramifications of reopening, including the heightened need for increased safety due to the coronavirus COVID-19.
When we deal with specifically COVID-19 infection, we have to have a way that we can trace back all the patrons in the event, that there is a contagion in the circle, if you like. It's a safety factor. So it's not business as usual, because we now have to implement measures for contact tracing.
If you look at the age group of who is carrying, they are the party goers. And when you look at where they come from, 80% of them live with persons who fall in the category of being vulnerable.
Also discussed, the possible reopening of water attractions, gaming lounges, betting shops, and round robins.
We are going to be faced with the question of round robin. That is not up for debate. We're going to have to confront the elephant in the room at some point in time. But as I said at the initial outcome, the question of venues came about when I suggested that we could use community centers, facilities that exist to stage some of these events in the first phase.
Mr. McKenzie says reopening is to be done on a phased basis. Among the protocols which will be reviewed every 2 weeks is the hosting of small outdoor events in a controlled environment. Minister McKenzie stressed the need for compliance and honesty.
We're going to now put a system in place where you, the promoters, you, the players in the business, must now stand up and be counted, because I've asked Dr. Espinosa to be here this evening because I think it is going to be important from a medical perspective that the entertainment industry understand what we are saying. Very, very important.
He also underscored the point that permission will not be given to having entertainment events every day of the week.
For me right now, I'm telling you up front, Sundays is out of the question. Sundays out of the question in the first phase of any consideration. You can tell me what the feeling is in regards to it. But we cannot start with every day, because what it is going to do, it is going to put a strain on the authorities to monitor these events, to see to it that the protocols that you have put on the table, if those protocols are working.
Meanwhile, the entertainment industry will be getting some much-needed support, the details of which will be unveiled by Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sports, Olivia Grange.
I speak in Parliament on Tuesday, and I will be making some announcements as to what we are going to do to assist the various sectors within the entertainment industry. And my permanent secretary is here. And we've been cutting and carving and working on how we are going to assist. Ministry of Finance, the Minister of Finance announced a care package, and the industry said, how come we were not named specifically in terms of getting assistance? Well, we have been able to work out some arrangement. And so we'll be able to advise you next week what the support will be.
For the news on PBCJ, I'm Carol Francis.
A floral tribute was held at National Heroes Park in celebration of the 98th anniversary of the birth of Herb McKinley, arguably one of the greatest sprinters the world has ever seen. Marlon Samuels has more in this report.
On July 10, several Olympians were on hand for a floral tribute that was held at the National Heroes Park in Kingston, in celebration of the 98th anniversary of Herbert Herb McKinley's birth date.
Just recently, Cabinet approved the Secretariat that it will now plan the events for a milestone anniversary of 60 years of independence. And so the Herb McKinley centenary will be a part of those celebrations.
Described as one of the greatest 400-meter sprinters in the history of the event, Herb McKinley was born in Pleasant Valley, Clarendon in 1922. His talent as a sprinter was reportedly nurtured by his grandfather, William Manning. In 1942, he enrolled in Boston College as the first Jamaican to be awarded an athletic scholarship to attend an American university. In 1945, he transferred to the University of Illinois. Just before the 1948 Olympics, McKinley set the world record in the 440 yards dash of 46 seconds. He broke his own record a month later, clocking 45.9 seconds. At the Helsinki Olympics in 1952, McKinley was second in the 100 meter. He also got silver in the 400 meter. Gold came when he helped Jamaica win the 4x400 meter relay with a new world record. He did so with what many regard as the greatest relay leg in history. His 44.06 seconds third leg split is credited with giving Jamaica the winning edge after erasing a 10-meter lead by the Americans. In 1950, McKinley gave the Jamaica Amateur Athletics Association an 8-point plan to develop track and field in Jamaica. He also coached the national team and served as president of the J3As.
So many of our athletes who don't really know the history, and we have to make sure that we keep the history alive.
It is important that we recognize those who have paved the way and opened doors for us, and we must never forget them. We must always honor them. We must always recognize their work and their worth. And this tradition will continue. I would say, Gillette, that young Olympians like you, it is important that you always remember those who paved the way and continue to carry on the tradition of honoring them. Arthur Wynne celebrated his 100th centenary, the late Arthur Wynne, and we're going to be offering a scholarship to G.C. Foster in his honor. And so, all that's left for me to say is that long live the memory and the work of the Honorable Herb McKinley.
Fortunate to meet Herb Mac. In the later days of coaching, he was still active enough to be around sitting on a chair. Body might have been weak, but his voice was still very strong. And so I was able to gain a little knowledge from him, what to do, what not to do, and especially the event that I ran, which was one of his expertise in coaching, the 400 meters. And so, I gained some knowledge from him, and I'm thankful for that. And I was also able to visit him when he got ill at home. And so I'm thankful to have gotten to know him and gain the little knowledge that I did from him.
As Herb was my mentor, my father, my friend. Herb had made me the man that I am today. And the day when I came back to Jamaica, I said that I want to be just like Herb McKinley. I tried, but I can't fit my foot in his shoe, but I'm still trying. I love this man dearly. He had helped me from day one, from I start to run from St. Jago High School. School mean nothing to Herb. Calabar, KCJ, as long as you are a runner, an athlete, he's going to see to it that you get through. Thank you, Herb. Thank you for everything that you have done for track and field in Jamaica. And thank you, Minister, for giving us this opportunity to come here today on his birthday, just to say, great man.
A comment made about Herb, which I found myself to be true, by one of our past presidents, Mr. Ayers, and he said, Herb was such a great man that when he opened doors, he never closed them. He held them open for others to come through them as well. And I think this signifies the patriotism in Herb and his love for everybody and for humanity.
Herb McKinley was a trailblazer in athletics in Jamaica and the world by accomplishing a number of firsts. He was the first man to run the quarter mile under 46 seconds and then under 45 seconds. He was also the first athlete to reach the finals of the Olympics in the 100, 200 and 400 meter races. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Marlon Samuels.
Now for the financial and economic news of the day, along with insight into Jamaica's stock and foreign exchange markets. Let's join Gabrielle Thompson. She has the day's business report.
In Friday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index declined by 3,075 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 81 stocks, of which 23 advanced, 40 declined, and 18 traded firm. The Junior Market Index declined by 63 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica, Caribbean Cement Company, and Epley Limited 8.25%. Stocks declined for Access Financial Services, AMG Packaging and Paper Company, and Barita Investments Limited. Trading firm were 138 Student Living Variable Preference, Berger Paints Jamaica, and Blue Power Group Limited. Trans Jamaican Highway Limited was the volume leader with 3.6 million units, followed by Sagicor Select Funds Limited Financial with 2.6 million units, and Indies Pharma Jamaica Limited Ordinary Shares with 2.4 million units. Now for the foreign exchange. The US dollar on Friday, July 10, ended trading at $144.05. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $107.77. The pound sterling traded for $183.65, and the euro ended trading at $163.85. Oil prices dropped on Monday on a record daily rise in global coronavirus cases, with big spikes in infections over the weekend in the United States, while traders await an OPEC technical meeting expected to recommend an easing of supply cuts. Brent crude futures fell 61 cents to $42.63 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures dropped 64 cents to $39.91 a barrel. And that's it for the business report on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
Bullying is a cause for concern in our society. There are reports of children and adults being bullied on a daily basis. To counter the negativity of bullying, Montegonian Antonio McCoy started the Antonio Foundation to help stop bullying in his community.
This is the Antonio Foundation Anti-Bullying Resource Center. What we do here is homework, art, mentorship, leadership, and we have a feeding program right here. We are inviting the public to come on board and support this initiative, this center here at 2 Railway Lane, Montego Bay.
Founded in 2013, the Leantonia Foundation recognizes bullying as a serious community issue that impacts education, physical and emotional health of children. The foundation recently opened its Anti-Bullying Resource Center, which actively leads social change. It provides innovative resources for children and their parents.
The counseling room at the Leantonius Foundation Anti-Bullying Center. And this where you're looking at is a library. In here is a computer room. The kids will benefit from computers and also a study area. And on the patio here, the smaller kids will utilize this area for homework assistance. Inside here is the art room. Kids that love art or want to be a part of art in the community of Barnett Lane, Railway Lane, and the surrounding community will benefit tremendously from this room because we'll also provide material for them. This room here is where 60 kids will receive hot meal every day, Monday to Friday.
The center recently provided 75 families with books, toys, and care packages.
I'd like to thank our sponsors. We have the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce, A Friendly Corporation, the LMH Publishing, and various groups. In the care packages today, we have rice, we have flour, we have oil, we have house necessities, and other things.
Also, I want to thank Melissa for donating these toys for the kids. She has been a real support to our feeding program. Today as well, 60 kids from the Barnett Lane, Railway Lane community will benefit from our ongoing feeding program. So,
having seen the impact that Leantonius Foundation is having on this community and the possibility that it allows the community, Sarah's children felt it was critical for us to support this venture. In fact, when we placed it on Facebook, we did a Facebook Live, and so far it has accumulated over 5,000 views, and we have also gotten responses from persons who are from Railway Lane, from Lightbody Avenue, from this area overall, who are now living overseas and are very interested in what is happening here. I want to congratulate Antonio because it is not every day that we see this kind of impact being made in communities. There's so many children to benefit from this homework center. And as residents, I'm encouraging you, I'm urging you to ensure that you support it. Make sure you take your children here and let them get an opportunity to be a part of this revolutionary project. I would call it a pioneering project because I've not seen anything like this in the area.
Persons wanting to contribute to the work the Leantonia Foundation is doing can call 876-353-1389. That's 876-353-1389, or send them an email at leantoniafoundation@gmail.com. That's the Leantonio Foundation @gmail.com.
In regional news, the first commercial flight in several weeks touched down at the Grantley Adams International Airport in Barbados Sunday afternoon. Under strict protocols, 132 passengers disembarked in batches from Air Canada Flight 966 from Toronto following an ease in the island's COVID-19 lockdown. Kareem Smith of Barbados Today was on location and filed this report.
The Grantley Adams International Airport was a hive of activity as Barbados welcomed its first commercial flight to the country since March. On it were visitors from as far away as Switzerland, as well as a number of Barbadians who were simply happy to make it home to their families. Air Canada Flight AC 966 arrived around 2:30 on Sunday afternoon, welcoming 132 people, including Canada's High Commissioner to Barbados, Marie Legault, under a range of new protocols tailor-made for the peculiar realities of COVID-19.
Family members, friends, taxi operators, rental car agents, and red cap porters were among the dozens of people waiting in the area of the arrival hall. Journalists were not allowed on the inside, but Minister of Tourism and International Transport Carrie Simmons, who was accompanied by Home Affairs Minister Edmund Hinkson, said he was, quote, relatively satisfied with the outcome. Passengers were serenaded with a rousing welcome from the Royal Barbados Police Force Band, after which they were subjected to temperature checks before queuing to display their results. Hugs and kisses were exchanged between loved ones before they walked briskly to the GAIA parking lot and were whisked away. Visitors described the airport protocols as smooth and explained that the instructions from local officials were very clear from the time flight AC 966 landed. Others lamented that Barbadians appear to be considerably more relaxed about the need for physical distancing than those resident in Canada. Among the tourists who came into the country was a family of 5. While they did not wish to reveal their identities, they told Barbados Today they had journeyed to Canada from Switzerland and were hoping to enjoy a 5-week vacation on the island. Kareem Smith for Barbados Today.
Over in Trinidad and Tobago, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley rubbished claims that his government is only allowing supporters of the People's National Movement back into the state so that they can vote while suppressing the return of voters from other parties. We hear more from this TTT News report.
The Election and Boundaries Commission in Trinidad and Tobago is an institution that we all could be very proud of. And it is hurtful to the staff for the leader of the opposition, who somehow carries the ambition of being Prime Minister again, to come out and just tell such naked untruths. When we were dealing with the Venezuelan problem, which I dare say we dealt with very well, when we were engrossed in that problem, she was out front saying that the EBC was registering Venezuelans, when in fact all we were doing was keeping a record of Venezuelans at the Ministry of National Security. Attention to what is happening in the United States. It is a frightening situation. And I could tell you, I have been all over the United States, east, west, north, and south. And everywhere you go, you meet Trinidad and Tobago citizens. So when we say we close the border, it's not to punish anybody. It is to keep the virus out. Having kept it out is no reason to play fast and loose now by telling me you're crying on the TV, you want to come home. I have no problem with you not coming home. What I have a problem with is the risk level.
In sports, West Indies beat England by 4 wickets to win the first test at Southampton on Sunday. West Indies captain Jason Holder had high praises for Shannon Gabriel following the win. Fast bowler Gabriel was named man of the match after taking combined figures of 9 wickets for 137 runs as international cricket returned from the lockdown. The 32-year-old went in as a travelling reserve as he was recovering from an ankle surgery, but he proved his fitness as Windies went 1-0 up on the 3-match series. And Trinidad and Tobago will host the 2020 Caribbean Premier League from August 18 to September 10. The organizers recently got the nod from the TNT government. A total of 33 matches, including 2 semi-finals and a final, will be played behind closed doors across 2 stadiums. As per the agreement between CPL and the Trinidad and Tobago government, all participants, squads, and team management of 6 franchises, the organizers and the rest of the crews will have to self-isolate for 2 weeks before they board their flights and for 2 weeks upon arrival in Trinidad and Tobago. All participants will be tested for COVID-19 upon arrival, following 2 more tests 7 days and 14 days after their arrival. The CPL is set to be the first time people from outside of Trinidad and Tobago are allowed into the country since the closure of its borders in late March. And that's the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. Thanks so much for watching.